It says we're live. Here we are. Here we are. And guys, we're not going to try to talk a whole hour about saltwater. We just had a topic and just some basic myths and stuff. So don't stress over that. I know some of you do have salt. Oh my gosh, all these people in the chat. Let's see. There's Dee Dee, there's Patty, there's Bonnie, there's Caleb. I get to going too fast and I can't keep up with my reading. Holly, Freaky Fish Lady, Huawei, Trash Can. I think I might have said. A lot of talking. Hey, Daniel Velez, welcome. Monica Lynn, welcome. Glad you're feeling better. Paul McCarthy. And Lucky Stone. I was just thinking about you, Lucky, yesterday or today. I hadn't seen you post anything, so I'm glad to see you here. New Local Austin. Well, where is the bottom? Oh, it jumped on me, so I'm at the bottom. Anthony. All right. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry, because it did. Red Blazer. I guess I better go back up a little too. Vanoski. See that? I think that's everybody. So welcome.
Caleb Shirley is one of our new young people. So
awesome. I was wondering who that is. I may have already subscribed to him. If not, I will after this. Well, Caleb, you want to make sure you subscribe to. I'm sure you are Dee Dee already since she knows you, but Susie Q here too. She has an awesome channel as well.
Thank you.
And we usually have about 5, 6. We can have up to 8. I think we have 8 people on the panel now, so it'll change every week. So we just sometimes have guests, and all of us keep fish, and some reptile. Well, all 3 of us here have reptiles too. So
yeah, I barely qualify, but I qualify.
Yes, you do.
You have a reptile.
I do.
So anyway, make sure what was said. I missed it.
Just wait, Judy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's it. I'm good.
Okay, that's what you said after one.
Well, I caught. It was so easy to catch. I figured I might as well catch 2. I actually caught 3, but one of them disappeared. I don't know where he went.
Hey, Melvin. Always a pleasure to see Melvin. There is no barely. It's either yes or no. I know that's the truth, ain't it? I'm actually breeding snakes now. Can you believe it? And I've only
really?
Yeah. I've had one pairing. I actually did a video of them doing the hoo-ha.
Oh, wow.
Whatever. I started to take him out to put him with another new snake to breed him with, and they were in the act. So you don't pull them apart, of course. They were in a lock. That's what it's called, locked.
Wow.
Anyway, how did we get all the way over on this from saltwater?
I have no idea.
It doesn't really matter. We're just having fun talking to.
So, may I ask, how many people in the chat have saltwater something? Saltwater nano, saltwater big, just the Nemo fish that qualifies as saltwater. So I'm just curious because I think a lot of us freshwater keepers have a tank that's either brackish or saltwater. You know, I think we do, and I'm just curious who in the chat actually has one.
I know Bob has one. Do you have a saltwater tank, Susie?
I do. I have a 75-gallon bow front and a 20-gallon nano, both saltwater. And then I have one 30-gallon or 45-gallon brackish. And I only mention that because I still have to test the salinity, use the marine salt. There's a lot of similarities, but it's also like a gateway between freshwater and saltwater. So,
is it easy to maintain?
The brackish, very easy.
Yeah, to keep the water in the
Very
bracket.
easy. Because as it evaporates, the salt stays in. I just have to top it off with fresh water.
Gotcha.
So, and every month or so, I test to make sure the salinity is about right, and it's always good. I just keep going. I only have to do a fresh thing when I'm doing a water change. But that tank is a very deep bed of coral, so I don't have to change the water hardly at all. I just top off. I just keep topping off. The TDS is creep up now. It's in the 450s. The TDS comes out of my tap at 300, so it's not too bad.
Oh,
and I have my mud kipper in there, and 3 mollies.
Mud skippers are an interesting fish. I don't have room for them, but if I was to do something, because I can't keep axolotls, it's too hot. But
They're
mud
real,
skippers
real,
would
real
be
easy to keep.
something I would
Yeah.
really like to have.
They're very forgiving of their water quality too. Very forgiving. Of course, you want to keep it clean.
Yes.
They're
Monica
very-
said, "I'm sorry, Bob.
No, go
Go
ahead.
ahead." Monica said that she had a saltwater brackish tanks back in Florida years ago, but wants to set up a tank again.
Anthony said, "What salt do you guys use, and what do you like about it?"
I personally use the cheapest I can get, whatever's on sale.
I do too. I like. There are two major brands that I like, and I do get it. Well, I actually get it from a friend that sells it, but but I don't use as much salt as I used to. But I mix them half and half because each one of them is supposed to do this or that, or has this or that added, and so I mix them half and half. But
Now,
I can't
from
remember
somebody
what they're.
who don't know what kind of salt is it that you'll get, marine salt?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But there's so many different brands out there that have some have additives that help this, some have things that help that. I just get whatever's on sale, and because I ends up being a part of my 5-gallon collection because it comes in a 5-gallon tub. So it depends on the color of the I know that sounds silly, but when you got this many 5 gallons, it depends on what color the tub is.
It's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Bunny has not had a saltwater tank since 1976. Bunny's had a lot of fish in her time.
She has.
She's very knowledgeable. And Monica wants to know what kitty was on your shoulder.
That was Rosalita, really known as Rosemary, the bobtail.
And Melvin wants to do a saltwater tank sometime.
So Bob,
I'm still here.
okay, what kind of saltwater fish do you have in your tank?
Hold on, let me try to get back here. There y'all are. My screen got huge on me. It still is, and I can't get it back down to normal size. Sorry. Don't know what's going on.
Daniel's kept freshwater since 1970 and started keeping salty since 1982. Well, I did not know that, Daniel. How come you have not shared that before?
That's pretty cool.
Can you all see me in the tanks?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
Nothing changed because I can't
Greg-
see the chat. I can't see the
Craig
chat.
fell in love with a skipper.
I have this 125 behind me, and it's a community type tank, and it's got things like fox face in it. It's got a squirrel fish. Oh gosh,
I love the squirrel fish. Is it the big-eyed one or the regular pink squirrel fish?
it's the great big. It's pink, but it's great big, and the fox face has been given a little grief lately. And then I've got damsels. I like the blue and yellows. I've got those. I've got the 4-barred. I've got the clownfish. I've got a flame fin. Those are great for algae. It's probably my favorite one in there. Not the prettiest.
So is that fox face. He'll pick at your algae
Yeah.
right off of everything.
Yeah, they love the algae. And I've got all of those saltwater mollies. You can probably see them. They usually stay near the top.
The saltwater what?
Mollies.
Oh, the mollies. Okay.
Yeah, saltwater. And some of them I bought as saltwater, and some I transitioned after I bought them.
No puffer? I love the saltwater puffers. I think they're the funniest looking things. I got one that's a dog face puffer, so his face looks like a dog.
Yeah. No puffer in this one. I've got a 40 that was my original tank, and it actually has more fish than this does, a 40 breeder. And I started it about 5 years ago, and I've been real successful. I had one round of ick in there and got real discouraged because when you buy a $50 fish and it gets ick, But so anyway, it's got a lot of different kinds in it. What are the yellow, the big yellow tangs? It's got those. Those are so expensive now.
Very
I
expensive.
know that one. That's one I do know.
And I've got a 20 long that's coral, and it's got a few little other fish in it, small fish that live on coral reefs.
Do you have any coral?
Yeah, it's got coral in it, easy and intermediate stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
I am not very good with coral at all. At all.
Well, I wasn't at first, and then I just stopped fussing over it so much. We'll see.
Oh,
We lost our host. Our host with the most.
Eddie had himself in a perfect position too.
So
Well,
I have the bigger tank and the nano tank, and I have to say, I would never recommend a small saltwater tank for anybody just starting. It's so hard to maintain. It fluctuates so much being small versus something that's like 70-gallon or larger.
Yeah, I got my
kind of the
chat.
same with shrimp. I would recommend at least 10 or more. Don't go. And I've done it myself. I've got 2.5s and all that, and I don't like having them that small. It's harder to keep them where they need to be.
Yep, I agree.
Oh, I've got some.
It is for me, anyways.
I have some cleaner shrimp, and then just some the other little small red shrimp. And the saltwater shrimp really, really are bigger, and they're a lot prettier, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, saltwater shrimp are cool. And that batfish you had, that was thing.
That
That's
thing just
my
disappeared
favorite
one day.
fish.
It disappeared one day.
Isn't it crazy? There are saltwater fish that just disappear. No
It vanished.
trace, no bones, nothing.
I looked everywhere. I took that stack of rocks apart. I looked in the filters behind. Nowhere in the floor. I mean, I don't know.
And that was a big fish.
It had got to be pretty big, but yeah, it just vanished. It really did.
That's crazy.
Well, I would that would be the type of fish, something like that I would want if I was to ever do it. Just
Well, John Bagger
all
wanted an aggressive tank. So we started off with the Niger trigger. We had the puffer fish, and we had a hogfish.
Yeah.
So and then you couldn't put two hogfish together. You can't put two different triggers together. You can't put two different puffers together. So it was very limiting. And then we had the dwarf lionfish for a while, which was freaking amazing. Amazing that fish was.
I had a dwarf lionfish too, and my yellow tang killed it.
I think mine was a fight with the puffer because when we woke up, now there's literal needles underneath their fin, and the fin was gone, and the needle was removed. He stung somebody, and what he did is he stung the puffer, and the fish died, and then the puffer got sick and released something that destroyed thousands of dollars worth of fish.
Yeah.
oh, whereas he had the last laugh.
Yeah. When they go out, they won't company with them, you know.
Took everybody with them.
Wow.
Oh, Daniel, I know you hate that, but you'll love traveling too. And you can always set it back up. We'll take the salt down.
I wish I was traveling. I think when I got serious with John Baga, and he's not a big traveler at all, I kind of resolved myself. That's when I started getting the animals. Like, well, if I'm not going anywhere, because my girlfriend and I, we're going to travel around the country. We're going to go to every national park, and we're just going to travel and travel and travel as we retire. And then I got with John, and it's like, we're not going anywhere. We're not even going to the Home Depot. But
I turned into a hermit.
yeah.
Since COVID, I got used to staying home, and it's hard to get me out of the house now.
Oh, I know. Isn't it great though? Like one of the best things that brought me back to Amish ways. I love it.
I still look at the little.
That was cool.
I still look at the little travel counters almost every day when I'm looking at ads on YouTube and stuff, and I get all that stuff recommended to me, and I'm like, oh, I could just take that out of my savings or out of my IRA and just get it. But I'm like, but nobody ain't going to come and feed these snakes and stuff.
So there's a myth of saltwater that I was thinking about that blew my mind when I found out it was just a myth, that I had to use RO water for saltwater. I can use tap water.
Yeah, that's what I've always used.
What? Once I found that out, I was like, are you kidding? As long as I don't have corals, which I don't, I can use tap water. I'm like, what?
I use tap water for my corals. I've always used tap water for my corals.
That's one of those myths that it might be case, but maybe because you got the beginner corals and I just got regular fish, but that works great. Works
Well,
great.
there are some corals I understand that I stay away from that are delicate, like some
Yeah.
fish are delicate, and they're very costly. So that they won't be in my tank because I
Right.
don't pay for RO water and I don't want to mess with it.
But I have to say that was my favorite myth that got busted.
Yep.
The other one was that I had to have this real fancy under the tank filter when I found out I could use a hang on the back filter. It was like whoosh, my whole world opened up. I'm like, let's get another tank. Let's
That
get
tank, both of these tanks, the fresh and the salt, have tidal filters on them. And the great thing about titles, is they have a skimmer. Most people say you do need a skimmer for salt water. I don't know because I've always had titles that have it built in.
right.
Titles cost like $5 or $10 more than the old ones we used to use, but it has a skimmer on it too. So
Yeah. Well, we had a
That's worth it.
protein skimmer. It's a special kind of skimmer that pulls out the proteins. And that thing got disgustingly dirty all the time. So I know it was very useful, but I gotta say, when it broke, we haven't used one in a long time.
And everything's still running good.
So I'm sure our tank would be healthier if we had one. But
right, right. It does have a purpose, and if you keep the water at that level and let it skim, it does keep the water from getting slick on top. But I always used it on my fresh water for like the last 5 years. So
But one of the myths that I've always thought, was one reason why a lot of people didn't have salt water was, when you go somewhere, you see these humongous tanks, like in a business, there'll be more than 100 gallons, maybe even 200, with all these pretty fish. And so, you had to like be able to put a couple $1,000s in a setup.
yeah,
And that's what I always thought, until, the last year or so when we started hearing from Fish Fam. But no, I've got this with a hang on the back, and I got a 7-gallon saltwater tank and whatever, so.
now if you're going to do the high end salt water, you are going to do it at a level of what some chemists would do, with all these different things, additive and testing, and you're going to go all out and you're going to spend thousands of dollars. It's not wasteful. You're going to do it, but you could also, if you just want to have a saltwater tank and enjoy some of the beauty of saltwater fish, you can do it for the close to the same price as freshwater.
And see, Daniel says the RO makes keeping salties easier, and so does a protein skimmer, but he wouldn't do a salty without either.
see, some people just that's the way they've already done it, or that's been their experience, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
You don't have to have it. He's saying it makes it easier, so
Yeah.
it's not
So it
worth the
depends on what
trouble.
you want to put into it. You can start
Yeah.
less expensive and work your way up, so you don't have a big hit right at the beginning.
I haven't done a TDS on any of my 3 saltwater tanks in probably 3 years. The first 2 years I did.
Right.
Now, do y'all go by TDS or do you use that refractor thing? What do you use?
Both. I use both. You got to use the refractor. Is going to give you the salinity level.
Yeah, I just use
Yes, it's just the buildup of.
I just use the plastic ones that floats it, but I use 2 of them to make sure they're accurate.
I figure they're close enough. Either it's going to go whee or going to go wong.
That's why I think saltwater is easier to keep than brackish, because saltwater you do have a wider range that you can keep the fish in. It might stress them to be higher or lower, and mine does as it evaporates. I try not to let it get too salty, but I try to keep it topped off. But the brackish, there's just not as much room there. There's a smaller area that's considered brackish. So.
Yeah.
I love Chromis is the other one I was trying to think.
Yes, the Chromis. I have 3 blue ones. Like they're almost like neon blue. They're gorgeous.
That's another one, Dee Dee, they're really cheap. If you look those up there, I bet they're $10, $12 everywhere, even the online places.
The
And
cardinal fish, the cardinal fish, what some people call the pajama fish, they're easy targets if you have any kind of aggressive, like the trigger, the puffer, or anything like that. That's the first fish they go after because they just like. So I learned the hard way. I got to stay away from them. But my puffer was adopted, and he was older, and he did not have a beak anymore. He didn't have any teeth.
Oh,
Had been ripped out in a fight a long time ago. So I literally had to like crush up clams and stuff like that for him. But he died just recently, and I knew it was coming because he was getting older and older and older.
right.
So the good part about having the smaller saltwater that I could put him in there for his last moments and didn't have to worry about him killing everything in the tank. But without those aggressive fish, I would love to do a community tank and get more of the more affordable fish, but get like 10 of them. So you have 10 damsels. Well, not damsels though, because damsels are pricks.
They're the kind of the guppies, but they're also the mini cichlids.
Yeah,
Like
they
mini
like
cichlids.
to bug the other fish. They like to bug each other.
They're little street punks.
Yeah, they are. But
Well,
the things like the firefish and stuff that are almost like glow in the dark purple, and they're very fast, they're very small. I also love the small creatures like your logo, Bob. Your logo has the small red dragonette.
Yeah, I've got him. Yeah, I still
Love
have him.
them. Love them. Oh my
That's
god.
that's my coral tank because they do need things, bugs and things that are alive. Isopods or whatever, not isopods. Invertebrates in the tank to eat. It has to be well established. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was one of
Oh
my
yeah,
favorite
those
ones.
little invisible things. What are they? Not isopods. What are they? Something pods.
Yeah,
on
Tryptopod.
the Steamy McStreamy, Stephen and Jenna, they do that What Your Fish contest thing, and they've been doing a lot of saltwater. Of course, the only one I can guess is Nemo, but
yeah.
and they don't repeat them. But Gina's Reef, she works in a saltwater fish store, so like she's on it, her and Myrtle,
Yeah, yeah.
It's hard to
She
beat Myrtle too, but it's hard to beat her.
She knows a whole lot about fish. I've seen her.
Salt and fresh.
Yeah, I've seen her give a couple of talks. And lurking
Yeah.
there. She does. She knows
Yeah.
her stuff.
So, but by getting exposure to them, we are seeing more. Is a wrasse? Is that a saltwater fish? Wrasse?
Yeah.
And that's probably my favorite fish, a yellow wrasse. I love them. I always have 2 or 3 of them. I've got 2 right now. The one in here just came up missing one day. So
Well,
They
it's
also
hard
see
to
the
have
tank.
more than one wrasse in a tank. It's really hard to keep more than one. There will be one dominant one, and you'll only have one after a while. Like that red-tailed shark. Like where'd the other one go? You can't keep 2 together. Like there's like 2. They'll constantly fight until one of them's picked to death.
that's one Melvin's talking about there. The anthus, those are gorgeous. They're so like the what are the little cichlids? The
Copepods.
they're little, about half the size of an anthus, and they breed in little caves and stuff. Can't remember. I had some of them anyway, but they are touchy. I've always heard that, from everybody, and I've never tried them, but they're gorgeous. Copepods. There you go.
Copepods. Yeah.
Copepods.
Somebody's talking to
like that.
somebody.
I know it. I don't know who it is.
Now, do you feed your saltwater fish daily or?
No.
If I have time, I do, but lately I've been doing about 4 days a week just because of the time factor. I used to feed all of my tanks twice a day, but smaller amounts.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Smaller amounts, and I was known for having obese fish, but my tanks were clean. I kept them balanced, but I went to once a day and fed a little more. Yeah, wrasse are so freaking. But yeah,
I like fat fish too. I like to see them happy, fat in there.
I might have to move to feeding them every day because when the puffer was around, because they did clams on a half shell, they would last all day and the other fish would pick at it. They were always huge. And I'm not throwing clams on a half shell in your tank anymore. So I think I'm going to have to get and start feeding them daily, smaller, like you said, smaller amounts to see what's that good point because I'm just so used to them grazing on the leftover mess of whatever the puffer left behind, or
Oh,
get
yeah.
another puffer.
They
Yeah.
probably miss him too.
I know. When he
And
ate
like-
that clam, side mushy clam would come out his gills, and they would just like be all over that.
Oh yeah. Give me some. Give me some.
And then John Baggett
Breathe.
thought he was doing me a favor. He bought me this lobster, a saltwater crayfish, saltwater, one of them, and it was big. And everybody in the chat was like, that's going to be called lunch for your puffer. You know that, right? And he didn't make it. And I was like, oh, man. And it didn't dawn on me to keep him in the nano tank because I had smaller fish. I thought he'd killed us because he was bigger than my small fish. So,
Would he have killed them too?
yes.
Okay, so either way, somebody was going to be missing something out of the tank.
Yeah, so it ended up being the new fish that I wasn't attached to.
That's why it's not always good to buy somebody a live animal.
No, like ask me first. He thought it'd be cool,
Ask for it.
and it would be cool if I didn't have the puffer. It would have been cool, but not so cool.
Yeah.
Let's say it ain't so, trash cat. Who's
You're not
pregnant?
fat. You're pregnant. Ooh,
I don't know who that is.
for sure. Hell not me.
Nobody
Now,
hears.
what's the last fish that saltwater fish that you bought, Bob?
The last one I bought.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Let's see. I've actually bought corals and marine crabs and shrimp and stuff like that. I haven't bought a fish probably in a year because they're just,
Wow.
everybody I've got stable, it finally got it right, I guess. So,
Nice.
How about you, Susie?
My last one was my squirrel fish. It's got to be, and that was like 2.5 years ago. That was my favorite hunter in the tank. So fast, so quick, and so beautiful. And when I went to the aquarium and I saw them schooling like 20 of them, they were breathtaking and they were huge. I'm like, oh my gosh, my little squirrel fish is going to be that, like, what? But I think what I want to do next is save enough money to get like a dozen smaller fish. I love that schooling effect that I've seen at the aquarium, but I just got to make sure I get something that's not going to get super big.
Right.
That
No,
was
there's pretty corals in the fish shops. It really is.
I have to agree with Daniel there completely. There's really no magic to keeping saltwater fish as opposed to freshwater. You just have to monitor the salinity, and a child can do that, just look at the numbers. So.
No, I think that comes in when you buy the fish. I can get a dozen fish for under $50 in freshwater. I can't do that in saltwater. I can't buy a dozen of anything and be under $50.
You might almost 100, but it'd be real limited what you could get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
And almost
I had a question.
all the saltwater is wild caught. Almost all of them. I
Yeah.
don't know, at least where I go, they're all wild caught. So you're taking your chances.
We have a saltwater fishery up past Knoxville, and I haven't ever been there. I bet, and the owner has an outlet store, and they sell. I can't remember the name of it. I toured it a couple of times with Bobby, Tennessee Aqua. It's up near him, but I asked the owner a couple of times, but this was back at the start of COVID. We could go see the hatchery, but a lot of stores in this area buy their. Why am I having trouble remembering the name of the fish? The little orange fish with stripes on them.
The clownfish?
Clownfish, thank you. Yep.
Oh, I know two now. See?
Yeah. It's
A yellow tang and a Nemo.
just a memory thing. So far, I know my name, but
Yeah.
the clownfish, they breed those and some other fish, and you can even go online and bid on them on, I think it's Facebook. They have a bid, maybe not. Anyway, but you can bid on them and they'll ship them and all, and that's here local. So
That's
so
nice.
It is nice, yeah. And I have
Yep.
bought several fish and things from them before, but like exotic things that I couldn't get closer to home.
Now, Melvin says Live Aquaria has beautiful saltwater. Is that Stephanie? Does she
Yeah.
have saltwater fish?
Um,
Is that Stephanie Live Aquarium?
I think he's talking about the online store business that Petco
Oh,
bought.
okay.
I don't think Stephanie has saltwater. She might. I know she's got some gorgeous freshwater and
She
fish.
sure does. Yeah.
She may. It
High
may be.
quality fish.
The Live Aquaria is a little pricey for me though, but they
Now,
do.
when you do buy a fish, I'm assuming you don't have a quarantine tank.
If I buy one, I set up a quarantine tank. I have a 10-gallon. I used to keep it cycled, but all I'd have to do is move a sponge or a little hang-on
Yeah.
back or something over that's cycled. So I got tired of maintaining it.
I
Yeah,
got
in
you.
my dry sump, I have 2 inches of coral. So I'll just take a huge amount and set up an instant tank because it's definitely more imperative in my mind because of how much all the fish cost that I don't put a fish in that's got. And they, if somebody has velvet, it's like the saltwater version of ick. Oh my God, what a mess. One time, and I lost half my fish. It was a mess. It was a mess.
The saltwater ick is a whole different organism too. It responds to what was the purple stuff? People got me to use it, and it worked better than the other things. The chemical that you put in, cupramine.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You put that in and you have shrimp in your tank?
No, you have to half dose or take them out.
Yeah, you have to because it'll kill your invertebrates.
Yeah.
Learn
Now
that
the
the
little
hard way too.
Yeah.
the crabs y'all have, they go in a regular saltwater tank.
Hmm?
The crabs that you have, can they go in with your fish?
They go in my nano tank. Only because I have the. I'm surprised that your squirrel fish doesn't eat the little crabs.
It probably does every now and then, but I do keep him well fed. He's hungry and mad if I skip a day.
My favorite saltwater combination is the Watchman goby and the pistol shrimp. They pair up.
Yeah.
They pair up, and the shrimp is blind and uses his antenna, I guess, and keeps touching the goby. So as the goby moves, and he digs these underground tunnels for the two to survive.
Yeah.
It's just amazing watching these two work as a team, and they both live for years.
And they're not that expensive either.
They're not, and
They're really
so
not.
fascinating to watch.
But he signals the blind shrimp, shrimp, the fish does, and they dash underground.
Now I saw the shrimp take an old clamshell and use that as a shovel. I was using that, and he's shoveling it. I'm like, look at
Oh my
this
gosh.
go! I videoed it. It was before shorts was a thing, but I videoed. I got to go back and look at that. They're going to try to turn that into a short. It was so amazing.
Good idea. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're my favorite to watch.
There's a lot more diversity for sure in saltwater because there's a huge more amount of salt water that covers the world. But
Yeah.
I found that there are like 4 or 5 standard colors though. If you start looking at the fish, the majority of the saltwater fish, you're going to find a couple of outliers, but they're all either this color of yellow or this color of blue or this color of silver or
Hot pink.
right. Yep. There's not a whole lot of variety in color unless you start getting like the little damsels and stuff like that.
Right. Which is why I told John, I said, just look at the tank and tell me what color you want to see swimming, and then I'll pick the fish. Because he'll pick an inappropriate fish thinking, oh, he is aggressive. This is good. And he'll kill all my fish. Like, just tell me what color you want.
Right.
Because those coral fish, they're a little different. They're harder to get now because they stopped shipping out of Hawaii. But they're only get about that big. And they're like a peachy orange stripe. They're very pretty. I like that.
If you want to see that, Monica, I'm happy to do it. I did wipe the front of this tank off and the algae ring off on the inside. That's another thing. I'll turn around if you guys want me to. And
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
But Susie and I were talking about before, and Dee Dee, about how you see people with pristine, and that's fine if that's what they want, pristine saltwater tanks and nothing on the sides of the glass and all that. But I know, right? But a lot of fish really love to eat the algae, and that's part of their normal setup. And it's just part of it. It's free food too. So,
Yeah.
oh my God. That scared me. What's that called? Or something shock?
Static.
I don't know.
The shock I'm most familiar with is sticker shock. Go try to buy a car. The car.
So funny.
Okay. All right. And I do have some plastic plants in here, and it's mainly for the saltwater mollies, little babies when they're first born, to hide in and just to have a chance in.
I love the saltwater plastic plants.
And that's even a freshwater plant. There's
And
one
so
of
for
those.
people who don't know, those were mollies in freshwater that you have converted into saltwater.
Some of them are. There are a couple in here, if I can see them, of like what are they called? They have the long dorsal fin,
The sail-fin mollies.
tail fin. See there? You do know some saltwater fish, did you?
I remember when you did that. I remember
Yeah,
you got
I,
those.
actually bought those from Ethan, that's on our panel periodically at his store, and didn't have to do anything but just acclimate them. And I did not, uh, what do you call it, isolate them or quarantine them. They were fine. But since then, I've added some more, just like from the LFS, and converted them over gradually. So it doesn't take long. Clownfish. There's a pair of those, and they periodically breed. My tomato clowns, I've had those forever. Probably the longest fish I've had. There's a damsel.
So did you know there's only one gender? Oh, look at that pink squirrel fish.
That was pretty.
That
So
squirrel.
that's what I'm telling you, Dee Dee. When I saw them schooling together, they were so gorgeous.
They do.
Beautiful pink, big eyes. Look at them.
It's like, y'all saw that? Let me show it to you
Yeah, I'll show
again.
you again.
And
And they're
what he's-
amazing hunters. They're very quick
Oh
to pick
yeah.
up the food that you throw in there.
And their eyes, just a little about them. I've researched this. They're so big because they're primarily a nocturnal fish. I mean, they'll stay out during the day if that's when you feed them, but they like hang under ledges and in little cliffs and in the coral. And if the smaller fish is above them, they can see that by the stars and the stuff. So they go up and grab it. So
That's so cool.
kind of gross, but so yeah, I have put some small clowns in here before and ended up losing one or two because he was like, "Yay, supper!" But yeah, I was trying to get the foxface to come around. He's a little shyer, but yeah, see, I have those damsels. Like I said, those are my favorite ones. I have them. They're a little territorial. They all have a.
They all have their own little niche in the rock.
And they were the ones you said are not very expensive.
Yeah, these guys are probably $12.99 right now.
Oh, that's something else you think you got to spend $100 for every fish you get.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can. You can spend that, and you can spend $200 for some of the fish now. I mean, things.
But you can get a whole lot under $30 each.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's good to know because if you're starting out, you don't want to start off with a $200 fish and not have things right.
Mm-mm.
Right.
Nope.
You don't want to kill a $25 fish either, but
No,
it hurts less.
and I think it's so important to get an established tank with just like a handful of fish. I personally would do molly, a handful of fish, and then knowing how to set up a small quarantine tank, get like a pair of Nemo and add them and let them acclimate. And then get another couple of fish, quarantine them, let them acclimate. So I can't see building this whole big fish tank with lots of fish all at once. It's not in my budget. It's not in anybody I know's budget that's friends with me. So it's
Well,
as long as the key is knowing how to set up a quarantine tank ASAP.
Rounded Rob says tanks with algae, I would consider them balanced and stable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Vibes came in along with Rounded Rob.
Hey,
Now,
Rob.
Bob, do you have those rocks glued together or just stacked?
They're just stacked.
Okay.
And I haven't had anything fall in a long time, but they're kind of unstacked over here because they fell. And I thought, well, if that's the way they want to go, that's fine. But this is plexiglass, and so many people were saying, don't get that, don't get that. I can't find a scratch on it. It may be one right there now that I said that. But,
I can't see it.
I don't see it. No,
well, there's a lot of algae on the inside. I'm trying to get the fox face in here. You can see him through there.
I see his yellow body.
Oh, yeah.
Little black and white face. Oh.
I see now why they call it a fox face.
Yeah.
And his mouth is so tiny, he's perfect for picking algae off of the rock.
He does that all the time. He's wondering what the heck's
How
going on.
pretty.
Let me see. Monica wanted to know about setup. Well, this is a 125, and I should have wiped the tops of these off, and I didn't. But see, that's all salt creep is what that's called around the lid there. When you have salt water, you're going to have salt creep, and the salt gets on everything. And, you know, look at all the salt buildup on there. That's how long since I wiped it off. Probably.
Wow. Yeah.
Every time I top off my tank, I push that back in the tank.
I used to, but I guess I should because it came out, right?
Yeah, that's what I do. And then it
That's,
doesn't build up as much because I'm topping off probably every week.
Those are Title 55s.
Perfect.
And another Title 55. So it's definitely well filtered. It's the betas, but they're freshwater. Oh, let's see what's over here. There he is. If I can get him to not go
Oh,
to
look
the
how
others.
beautiful.
He's like, okay, I'm back here hiding now. You come over here and pointed that thing at me.
And I actually come to, I call this the back to feed them because that's where this has an attached lid, a built-in lid on it. So I have to come around here to really get in there or move the tops every time. It's just easier.
It's like
Yeah,
salt water's almost like having a whole bunch of spotlight fish all in one tank.
Uh-huh.
Any one of these in freshwater would be its own centerpiece fish.
Yeah.
But in the saltwater, you just have like 5 or 6 awesomeness. Like, wow, wow, wow.
But that pink one is really fast, boy.
He is, and that's why little fish disappear sometimes. But
Yep, he's an amazing hunter.
Wow.
there,
That's
that one
pretty
goes.
cool, too. I like all the little caves. And so I guess when you set up your rocks there, you try to create spaces for them.
Yeah, but they kind of naturally do that too. I made sure there were a couple of big holes, you know. Up there's one, you saw him, and then down here. Plus, I used to have that big marine crab, the red one, and he liked to get in there. I think that's who probably knocked down the rocks that time. He passed away a few months ago, but he was old. I have the lights on in this room too, and usually I just have my fish tank lights on, so they're kind of spazzing about that. But that's all there is to my tank, to this one, to all of them, is hang on backs and
And explain how you set it up. Because for me, I know I put the rocks in first to make sure they were stable, like you said, because you're just stacking them. Then I put in my coral. Right, it's kind of like when you set up a freshwater, you want to make sure your rocks are stable on the bottom. Because some of these fish are pretty strong.
See, that's just I'm just gonna measure the salinity for the heck of it right now. Here it's this out. Well, on this tank, it doesn't have any coral in it, not purposeful, but there are some things that grow on the rock. You know, you pick up things. I bought this whole rock there. You can see it looks like a crater in there. With all kinds of things on it up in Knoxville, I think for $75. What a steal. But
Now, is that algae on it or is that another plant?
yeah, algae. There's some sponges.
Looks good.
all kinds of stuff. Yeah, but some people were just shuddering, in horror. I made sure it hit the floor. It's a shell I knocked off.
Did you get any bristle worms in rocks as a hitchhiker?
Not in these because the fish that are in here love bristleworms to eat.
Oh, how great is that?
Yeah, so I never see them, but now I do see them. Never in my 40, but I do see them in my 20 long. And
40-gallon breeder would be a perfect starter saltwater tank for somebody.
Oh,
who's
yeah, it would be.
that's what I started off with.
Yep.
For some reason, this is not wanting to work. That shows you how long it's been since I used the hydrometer. I think it's cracked. I've got another one, like I said, that I compare them. I'm stirring up stuff, so they're all up. Damsel wars, and those are about the size of a nickel, Dee Dee.
Oh, okay. They look
Between-
bigger.
Yeah, between a nickel and a quarter. They're closer to a nickel, though.
Cool.
So I called my local fish store because my damsels were acting very strange. The one was swimming straight up and down the side, almost like an Amazon puffer does. Up and down, up and down, up and down. And he started laughing at me. And he said, they're mating. I was like, what? Oh, they're mating. I was so
It's not
excited.
strange. It's just special.
Yeah, it's special, all right.
I don't even know. Now, see, this is how my tanks, unless they're going to be on camera.
That's a tomato one. I bet you he's mean. Does he bite you?
No, I got those because they were, if I can find a sponge, I'll wipe it. Sorry, I'm going to show the ceiling because I don't want to show the python hose and the litter pan lid off and all of that fun stuff on the way there.
Oh, I know. I just did a tour of my fish room and had to crop out the bottom half.
There's some pretty plants up there too.
My plants are doing pretty good. Thank you,
That's
Dee
a
Dee.
monstera.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got two of them. The first one I got's not doing as well, but I think I learned I can never find a sponge. Never. I can't even find the one that I just cleaned that one with.
Did you
Here it
ever
is.
find that snake?
No, but I've started having some little mice inside, and I've got dirty dishes in the sink too. Anyway, I started seeing some little mice. Tibby started catching mice, and so I think that snake is gone.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have any mice. I don't think you would have any mice.
No, that's a good shot.
Yeah, right?
This is my original tank. But to answer your questions, Susie and Monica, I'm going to do this just so we can get a window into here. And some people will say, how could he do that? That's so nasty. You'll
No,
see
it's
how
not.
nasty.
No,
When they come over.
No.
Well, some people think that, though. They're like that about algae.
Eduardo believes that what your tank looked like that, just like that, is the best way to have them.
This one's even got salt water all down the front.
I just clean my fronts. I don't ever clean the sides. Back.
Okay. How
You
handy.
know, those little fish that stick on the side on the glass, I figured they need something to eat too.
Yeah, well, this one's a little over the top, but
So
the
what do
way
you
I
have in this tank besides the tomato clowns and the damsels?
well, you see the damsels are there. I've got some. Sorry, got a low battery thing.
Oh, look at that. There he is. Yeah.
Is that an angelfish?
Tang.
Beautiful
Is that what
tank.
that is?
It's a yellow tang.
I saw something purpley, burgundy color too. What was that?
Maybe
Was
Little
it the
skinny
tomato
looking.
clown?
I'm not sure what you saw.
See
But
it right
those-
there? Right there?
Those are tomato clowns, and I actually got those for like $10 for the pair of them.
They're
And
pretty.
because they kept coming back to the store, my friends had a store. They don't now, but they do, but they don't. But
They're mean. They'll bite you.
I got them, and I haven't had any trouble with them. Well, I don't let them bite me, but they spawn about every 2 weeks.
Wow.
I've
Are
never
you able
tried.
to keep any babies or no?
I've never tried to. See, there's the pair. Female's always the large one with clowns. And you started to say a while ago, Susie, that they're unique in that they're all one sex. They start off all one sex, and then where you at, Yazzie? And then they decide who's going to be the female. So,
Wow.
and she becomes the larger of the
Yep.
two and the more dominant of the two.
Now,
It's
do
neat.
they go to that same cave that the tang is in? Is that what they want?
Yeah, when they have eggs in there, they spawn on the top of that cave, on the roof of it, and no one goes in there when they have eggs, when they have a spawn. But they've got to be. I don't know. I'd have to look back at my videos, and they're one of my highest ranking videos, like close to 5,000 views. It's amazing. And that was just in their quarantine tank when I first got them. For some reason, people like the title "Tomato Clowns." I have some other fish in here too that are shy. I've got a coral beauty that may be what y'all saw a while
Oh,
ago.
that's got to be one of my most fascinating fish to watch.
They're so shy, so it may not come back out. I see it mainly when I feed them, of course. And then I've got some chromis, some blue-green chromis, but I'm not seeing them at all. And I've
Rounded
got,
Robs likes the yellow tangs.
yeah, those are so, price those, Dee Dee, right quick, if you're bored. Those things like doubled and tripled in price with COVID, and then they stopped for a while. I think they've started again, but
Oh, I've got
now,
my screen blowed up so I can see this good.
oh, okay. But they stopped sending those from Hawaii. That's where they came
Yeah.
from, apparently. But I think they're shipping them again, but the price stayed up. It didn't go back down.
I know. Once the price goes up, it never comes back down.
Yeah, it
I
will
know
never
it.
come back down. I don't care.
If it
They
costs
have
them
to
10
melt.
cents, it'll never go back down.
Triple fold, they won't bring it down.
Nope. That's
People will pay for it, so that's what they're going to do.
I usually put some pellets or bloodworms or something up on the top up there of the rocks, and all the little crabs climb up.
Oh,
I can see how many I've got. I've got blue leg and red leg. Trying to see what else is lurching around here.
That's just
Yep.
amazing that they don't eat the crabs.
No, well, some things will. Your puffers, they'll eat them. And you got to be careful with what fish you put in with corals too.
yes.
Because a lot of fish will eat corals, and inverts will eat corals. Some of them will. Yeah, I really do need to get in here and wipe the front of this off so I can see what's in here. My gold chromis are not coming over. They usually stay on this side anyways. I have to make sure I feed them on both sides. Anyway, hey buddy, those are my favorites. This is actually a little different damsel than those others. This one
It is. It just has a little yellow tail. It's not
Right.
a line across it.
It's not the same as those others. So
That's very cool.
Yeah, very good.
when I first started with it, Monica, setting them up, what I did was listen to one person, because everybody, just like with freshwater,
Oh, my
everybody knows everything, and everybody's got advice, and it's the way they did it, and some of it's not good, some of it is. So I just decided what I was going to do is just follow the people I was friends with that I was buying the stuff from and getting at their store, and they were really good about holding me back about like just getting one goby or getting this, and keeping my water parameters checked. And so finally I got up to having this tank stocked, but it took probably 6 months. And all this has on it is a 75 title, one filter,
Yes, what size tank again?
40 breeder. So
Okay.
people might be saying, "Oh my God, that's overstocked." No, it's double filtered. It's not overstocked.
Right.
And
Even if
another
it's
thing,
bigger,
another thing that I didn't know that's pretty basic, but is like the reason you have all the rocks and stuff is, well, that's their natural habitat, and it gives them places to hide since you don't have all the plants and stuff. But most of your beneficial bacteria is on your rocks.
Yep, that's your filtration right there.
Right. So your filter's built in already. So, and you don't have to have another filter, another tank underneath. You can, you can spend all that if you want,
You
but
don't have to.
you don't have to. It's like anything, you can put what you want into it.
You know, like the blackbeard algae, I find that so relaxing to watch it swaying in the water movement.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Even though we all like freak out when we have it, it's like, but it is so cool to watch.
I took my hang on back sponges over to the store and they put them in their tanks. Yes, I'm drying a sheet up there. It's raining and I don't want to run my dryer for a sheet. Look at that mess. Talk about algae.
Hair algae.
That's all that is a tank of algae. Nothing else but algae in there.
Do you use it for anything?
I haven't been, but I've got it if I need it, you know, if I want it. So that's, oh, and this one you can't, it looks worse than that one because it does have tons of the little, there's maybe my pickles, tons of sponges and all kinds of creepy crawlies. It's got the little starfish in it. I forget what they're called. If I can get the lid up. Oh, sorry. This one's really not worth fooling with. And I do keep, a lot of people don't like that, and they tell you don't have to do it, you don't, but that's, I can't see anything. But I do keep a bubbler in this one just to help with circulation. There's a little water mover down in there. Some of the coral are actually helping, I see. If we get over here where we could see some of them. There's something back there. We're just seeing the reflection of this lid, basically. But I've got a rack with corals on it there. That's the boss of the tank right there, that little...
What is he? What's that little guy?
I don't know, what are those? There's 3 or 4 colors of them in there. Not a clown, but somebody in the chat will say it. And then there's
Bunny
another...
says she had a tank full of hair algae and thought it was pretty and enjoyed it until she didn't. Now it's a pain.
Yeah. Once you get it, you got it. So
Oh, my tubs outside are full of hair algae. I pull it out by the handfuls
it's
every day.
very nutritious.
Especially with this heat. Oh,
What's our time doing?
I think
We're over right actually.
Oh,
We're paying attention.
sorry.
don't
Geller
be.
has been posting the links for Daniken.
Good. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and get out of here then. And I'm not going to even bother to turn this back around and scare us. Thanks, Susie. It scares me every time. I forget I'm old sometimes, and I'm like, oh my God. Thanks, Susie, and thanks, Dee Dee. Appreciate you. Awesome panel.
AndYway says we can use hashtag found Nemo.
Oh, okay. All right. Sounds like a good one.
Yep.
We know where he's at. He's at Bob's house.
Yep.
And
Stop looking for him.
Rounded Rob, I need to get with you because I wanted to have you back on here soon if you're agreeable to that. No pressure. But actually, the other day I was looking at old videos and I'm like, I need to get him back on here. So I'm going to get with you. All right. Thanks, everybody, and have a good night. And appreciate the questions and hanging out. And Monica, I swear I'll send your floating plants hopefully this week. I swear, hopefully. So thanks, everybody. Good night, and see you over at Daniken's.
All right, guys.
All
Good night.
right. Bye.
Bye.
I'm waving to